Ever since I moved out after college, Halloween has never been my favorite day. I didn't hate the holiday itself. I just hated the idea of strangers coming to my door nonstop, kids yelling trick or treat, and teens trampling across my yard. Still, I kept a bowl of candy by the door and smiled through it. My property is large and unfenced, which means kids often cut across my lawn. Some even sprayed silly string on my bush or tossed toilet paper over the trees. I learned to tolerate it until one Halloween night that I'll never forget. It was late, well past the usual rush of trick-or-treaters when the doorbell rang again. My dog, Nina, started barking like crazy. She'd been doing that all evening. I sighed, grabbed the candy bowl, and opened the door. Standing there was someone dressed in a full-body gorilla costume. Not the funny kind. The mask looked disturbing, almost too realistic, with wide, glassy eyes and snarling teeth. He didn't say a word. Didn't even say trick or treat. He just held up a small, half-empty candy bag. Trying to be polite, I said, "You're out late, huh?" and dumped a generous handful of candy into his bag. He stayed there, staring down at what I gave him, sorting through the candy with gloved fingers. Then, slowly, he lifted his head and looked at me. Something about the way he stared, completely silent, made the hair on my neck stand up. "You want more?" I asked, half joking. No response, no nod, no movement. Just that unsettling gaze through the mask. I quickly said, "Okay, happy Halloween," and shut the door, locking it behind me. I stood there for a second, listening. No footsteps, no movement. Just Nina growling softly beside me. Trying to shake it off, I went back to the den to finish the movie I was watching. That's when I heard something fall near the back door, a loud clatter. My back door opens onto the patio, and right outside it I could see the yard under the floodlight. My rake had fallen over. That was odd. It hadn't been windy all night, and I leaned it against the wall pretty securely. I slid on my sandals, grabbed a small flashlight, and stepped outside. The air was cold, heavy with that Halloween stillness. When I picked up the rake, I noticed something else. The door to my shed was slightly open. That shed is big, almost like a small garage, and I use it for all my outdoor tools. The light inside had been broken for years, so I used my phone flashlight to peek in. At first, it looked empty. But then, on top of a large storage box, I saw the gorilla mask, just sitting there, staring back at me. My stomach dropped. I took a few cautious steps inside, shining my phone light around. The beam didn't reach the far corner, but when I moved closer, I saw him. The man in the gorilla suit was standing in the corner, facing the wall, still, silent, mask off. He wasn't a kid. He was much older, with thinning gray hair and a stiff posture. I froze, trying to process what I was seeing. He hadn't moved, but I could feel he knew I was there. I took a slow step backward, not making a sound. Then, suddenly, his head snapped around to look at me. I swear my heart almost stopped. I bolted out of the shed, slamming the door behind me so hard it rattled. Then I ran to the back door of the house, fumbling with the lock, and heard the shed door fly open with a bang. I didn't look back. Once inside, I locked everything, doors, windows, everything, and grabbed my phone to call the police. They arrived about 20 minutes later, but by then, the man and the mask were gone. All the officers could do was file a report and promise to patrol the area that night. I barely slept. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to Nina barking again. She was downstairs near the back door, growling low and steady. I peeked out through the curtains. Nothing. The yard was empty, the shed door still shut. Still, I didn't feel safe. I called Nina upstairs and locked my bedroom door. She lay at the foot of my bed, still growling softly for hours as I tried to convince myself it was over. By morning, everything looked normal again. The police found no trace of him. But ever since that night, I can to relax on Halloween, not with the memory of that silent man in the gorilla suit staring at me through the mask. It was, without question, the scariest Halloween of my life. Every Halloween, the old St. Mary's mental hospital at the edge of our town became a playground for rowdy teens, drinking, vandalizing and covering walls with graffiti and silly string. Eventually, the town had enough. They sealed every ground floor window with thick metal bars and doubled security around the perimeter. That didn't stop us, not me, Ethan, and Lucas. We had planned to explore the place that Halloween night no matter what. Cutting through the woods, we spotted flashlights and heard guards yelling for groups of teens to go home. We stayed hidden in the shadows, moving along the fence line until we found a quieter side of the building. That's when we jumped the fence and began searching for a way in. To our disappointment, every window we came across was locked up tight, reinforced with cold steel bars. Just as we were about to give up, Ethan noticed a single window boarded only with wood planks. We all had boots on, so kicking it in didn't seem impossible. The problem was the height. The window was too high up. So, Lucas and I hoisted Ethan onto our shoulders, using him and his boots like a battering ram. The wood was damp and half-rotted, so it gave in faster than we expected. After ripping off the splintered pieces, we had an opening. We hurried inside before the guards could notice. I dragged a flat piece of debris over the hole to conceal our entry. And just like that, we found ourselves standing in a massive, pitch-black asylum on Halloween night. Lucas pulled out 3 flashlights from his backpack, one for each of us, along with a few cans of spray paint. "We'll tag the top floor," he said. That meant we needed to find the stairs. The silence inside was thick, like the air itself didn't want to move. After coming from the cold, windy outdoors filled with shouts and laughter, the dead quiet inside felt unnatural. We eventually found a staircase and began climbing. Step after step, until we'd gone up what must have been 6 stories. But the roof was still another level above, and the stairs didn't go that far. We'd have to find another set somewhere else. As we searched a long corridor, a loud bang echoed from the far end of the hall. We froze. Our flashlights pointed into the darkness, but the beam didn't reach far enough to reveal anything. Someone or something was in there with us. We decided to go the opposite direction, keeping our voices down. The halls felt endless, twisting and intersecting like a maze. At one point, I was walking in the back and kept glancing behind me, more out of instinct than anything else. Just as we turned a corner, I heard a faint crack from behind. I whipped around. Someone was peeking out from around the corner, just ahead, motionless, staring at us. But when I blinked, they vanished. "Yo!" I yelled, but even I wasn't sure who I was calling to, my friends or that stranger. Ethan and Lucas turned, confused. I explained what I saw, but they thought I was just trying to freak them out. Still, I knew what I'd seen. We weren't alone anymore. A few minutes later, we reached a stretch of hallway where most of the floor had collapsed. Only a narrow strip remained intact, just wide enough to cross if we were careful. Ethan volunteered to go first. He made it across easily, and Lucas followed. I was last. As I stepped onto the narrow plank, gripping a pipe for balance, something cold clutched the back of my shoe and yanked. At first, I thought it was one of my friends messing with me, but that was impossible. They were both ahead. I tried to shake it off, but the grip tightened. My flashlight slipped from my hand, and I was plunged into near darkness. I screamed, loud. The moment Lucas's flashlight beam hit me, the hand released. Then we heard it, footsteps pounding below us, fading into the distance. None of us wanted to check. We didn't look down, we just ran. All the way down the stairs back to the first floor. That's when we realized we'd trapped ourselves inside. Our entry window was the only one not sealed with steel, and we'd blocked it with wood. Panic set in. Every hallway looked the same, every turn felt like déjà vu. And with each corner we turned, I half expected to see that same face again. And then I did. At the end of the hallway, the same figure stood, half hidden behind a wall, peering out. This time I saw more clearly. They were wearing a mask. "Go!" I shouted. We sprinted in the opposite direction, lungs burning, until we finally found that stupid window. Climbing out was faster than climbing in. When we got outside, the security guards were gone. The chaos had died down. We could have warned them that someone or something was still inside that building, but doing so would have gotten us caught. So we ran through the woods back to the car, gasping for air, not speaking a word. That was our Halloween night in 2016, and to this day, none of us ever talk about what happened inside St. Mary's Asylum. When I was 9, my parents finally allowed me to go trick-or-treating without them for the first time. I went with my best friend, Danny, who was also 9. Our curfew was 9 p.m., but by the time we started heading back, it was already getting close. Trick-or-treating in our neighborhood wasn't exactly rewarding. Houses were big and spread far apart, which meant more walking and less candy. We stopped at a house that sat alone on a corner lot, hidden behind a thick wall of hedges. The porch light was on, and Halloween decorations flickered faintly. We rang the bell and waited. An older man opened the door, maybe in his mid-50s, with thinning gray hair and a droopy mustache. He smiled strangely and asked what we were dressed as, speaking to us like we were 6 years old instead of 9. Then, instead of handing out candy right away, he asked, "Are you boys here alone? No parents around?" We told him it was just the two of us. He seemed almost surprised. Then he stepped back, opening the door wider, and that's when we saw it. Inside his living room was an obstacle course tunnel made of cardboard boxes and Halloween props, cobwebs, spiders, and plastic skeleton hands sticking out from the sides. It looked like something straight out of a haunted house. "In order to get your candy," he said, "you've got to make it through the course." Danny and I exchanged excited glances. It looked fun, and what was the harm? So we shrugged and said, "Okay, go on in," the man said, his tone oddly flat as he looked past us toward the street. Then, without meeting our eyes again, he closed the door behind us. I crawled into the tunnel first, Danny right behind me. The air inside smelled like cardboard and dust. Orange Halloween lights dimly glowed through the cracks, just enough to see the plastic spiders scattered inside. It felt longer than we expected. The boxes twisted and turned in weird directions until finally we came out into a small room also decorated with faint orange lighting. There was a handwritten note taped to a door that read, "Candy down there." The door opened to reveal a narrow staircase leading into a basement. I hesitated. "You think he's down there?" I asked. "Maybe," Danny said. "Let's just go." "The candy's probably there." We started down the steps slowly. The basement had that cold, concrete smell, damp and stale. Orange light flickered from a single bulb below, but there was no candy, no decorations, just an empty basement. And then the door slammed shut above us. We ran back up, banging on the door and yelling, "Hey, let us out!" But it wouldn't budge. It was locked. I remember both of us crying, calling for help, when suddenly we heard the doorbell ringing upstairs. Once, twice, then over and over again. We froze, listening. Then came the sound of the front door opening, followed by shouting, two male voices yelling at each other. The basement door unlocked and burst open. A man and a woman stood there, both terrified and out of breath. "Come with us now," the woman said, grabbing our hands. We followed them through the house, our hearts racing. As we passed through the living room, the older man stood off to the side, glaring silently at us. His fake obstacle course loomed behind him, like some grotesque trap. The husband yelled, "You're a sick freak," as we ran past and out the front door. The couple took us to their house across the street. The husband called the police while his wife sat us down, wrapping us in blankets and asking gentle questions. "What did he say to you? How did he get you inside?" It turned out they had seen us go into his house and thought something didn't feel right. That's why they came over and rang his doorbell. They'd saved us. When the police arrived, they found enough evidence to arrest the man that night. At 9 years old, we didn't fully grasp how close we came to something far worse. But looking back now, we're both thankful beyond words for those neighbors. That Halloween changed everything for me. I never looked at the holiday the same way again.